Coming to you from the Oddball podcast in New York City. My name is Vin Forte. You're listening to Oddball with Vin Forte. Go follow the show over on Twitter at Oddball Podcast, over on Instagram at Oddball_pod. Subscribe on YouTube. That's on youtube.com/@Oddball Podcast. youtube.com/@Oddball. And also wherever else you get your pods. Apple, Spotify, Google Play, wherever. Listen, I've been sick the past week. That's why I was out last week. Was very, very ill. Could not speak. Throat is still a little hoarse. I know in general I've been getting guests on most weeks now, but this week is especially important because someone else has got to carry the load, and that load carrier is going to be.
Yeah, I don't like that.
You know what?
I don't like that.
It's Martenzie Johnson.
I want to get. How you doing, Vin? I don't even feel bad for you anymore. I hope you get sick next week too. This is how you want to introduce me to the people.
This is how we're operating in 2024 now. This is how. But
all loads 2024. Yeah.
Again,
Speaking of loads,
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you said it, not me. This man. Carrying the load and the burden of an entire state right now. Fans of Milwaukee Bucks and Doc Rivers. What is going on? What is, because Adrian Griffith, okay, first time head coach. But they were 30-13. Like I understand there were rumors from what I had heard, but you're closer to the situation than I would be as a fan of the Milwaukee Bucks, that they kind of didn't respect him in a way. They liked him, but that they would see him make some moves during games where it would be like, oh, this guy kind of doesn't know what he's doing, maybe on defense, or that something was up. Yeah. So they're like, we need to bring in someone more experienced. But at the same time, Doc Rivers was also close to the situation, despite having a job for ESPN right now, or I guess as of the past month. Yeah. At that point, he was like a consultant for the Bucks and was like, "Hey, who's a great coach? Me. You should hire me."
Mm. Yeah. Well, first, you turn Adrian Griffin into Matlock. It's not Griffith, but that didn't go well, and I quite honestly. I didn't think that this was going to go well from his introductory press conference. It just didn't seem like he was ready for the main event, if that makes sense. Like he just didn't seem prepared as a head coach. He seems like when an interim coach gets hired mid-season and it's like you just kind of throw them out there. And of course they're difficult to answer questions with the media, that sort of thing. So I saw that and I was like, don't know about that, but let's see how it goes. Obviously, the season started off well enough with the record, but you could see something was off. On court, obviously, but then off court as well, where Giannis is going up to the whiteboard to draw what their defense assignment is supposed to be. Bobby Portis, I believe on 2 different occasions, yelled at Griffin. There were multiple times where multiple players seemed to, not respect him as the head coach, and so. I figured they would get him through the season because you couldn't really do an interim thing. Now, I know Quinn Snyder got hired last year midway through the year, but normally you don't hire someone new midway through the season, especially when you got championship aspirations. So I'm like, no way they're going to let Prunty run it up again like he did a couple years ago when Jason Kidd got fired. So I'm like, they'll keep him for the year. Then he gets fired, and I'm like, Doc Rivers' name coming up immediately. So I'm like, oh, it's Doc for – there's no way around it. They wouldn't fire Griffith if they didn't have a contingency plan already in place. And as you mentioned in the reporting, I believe by The Athletic, he served in a sort of a
consultant,
consultant advisor role to help Griffin through his first season. We forgot to mention that Terry Stotts,
which I didn't know you could do that though. Can you do that if you're working for ESPN?
Can you do that? That's a question we asked about Doc Rivers a lot, So I guess he could. I don't know. It doesn't matter anymore. He doesn't work for ESPN anymore. So, Yeah, I don't, Doc is obviously a good coach, right? He gets his teams to the playoffs practically all the time, gets them to the conference finals. He's made it to the finals and won one time at least. So he's a good coach, but I got questions about like how he moves. It seems to be in a shady way, both from this instance, right? But then also his time in Philly, where he had to know that there had to be some fragility to Ben Simmons' psyche, and like to just throw him under the bus for one pass that he made. That's not just what a leader does, and he's notorious for really kind of skating on blame. So I wasn't excited about the hire. And now obviously they're 1-4 since he got here. And that win came from being down 25 down from to the Mavericks, and Luka got hurt for half of that. So not great so far. The vibes are not great, Vin. Not to mention what we'll probably get to more. Pat Bev is here now. So yeah, I got to see it play out, but I'm not optimistic right now on their chances.
No, and then this to throw extra weirdness into it, he's gonna be the coach for the Eastern All Stars because of some weird loophole where the Celtics coach or Joe Mazzulla can't do it 2 years in a row. So they're now, because the Bucks have the second best record in the league, he gets it. Now I will give Doc Rivers credit. He did come out and say he was going to give whatever the money he gets for being the
if I was Griffin, I
small
would
potato, very small potatoes. I know.
Yeah, I would wipe a certain part of my body and give that right on back to Glenn Rivers, because I don't want your handouts, especially if the reporter is true. Now I will say that Doc Rivers says that is not true, but that begs the question: why would someone lie about that? But
also, what were you consulting on at that point then?
Yeah, like it's and why did they zero in on Doc so quickly, right? You know what I'm saying? Like if they hadn't had the prior relationship with him, you know what I'm saying? So it leaves a lot, it begs a lot of questions, but either way, let Thibodeau do it. Like, come on, man. Like Doc ain't been coaching but for 2 weeks now, and he's gonna be the all-star coach next weekend. It's kind of weird, but
1-4, maybe the worst record for an all-star coach ever. To go with his
definitely
maybe
the
worst record,
yeah.
to go with his possibly, I haven't looked up all the numbers, but I would assume the worst record for a coach of the year ever when he was in Orlando, right?
Yeah, well, because they were like 40, they
like
barely
500.
were over 500. Yeah. But I mean, I guess
they had 30 wins the season. They had 30 wins the season before, and that was a truncated year, so it's whatever.
Yeah.
But then, okay, you got me 10 more wins when you brought in Doc Rivers. Great.
Yeah. Like I don't get it, but whatever. It's an all-star game. Who cares? Like the funny thing will be, I mean, honestly, it'll be funny if he wins or loses. So I think we all kind of win.
Everyone wins
in that regard. Yeah, because it'll be funny.
Now you mentioned the trade deadline. I don't know. To that point, my favorite part of the trade deadline in the social media era is the flood of posts by teams today, being like, "Oh, thank you, Harold," and people being like, "There was a Harold on our team. What the? How many minutes did he play?" Like all these people that played like for a cup of coffee, and people were like, "Oh, thank you," and then you see reading all the comments that are like, "Who? What?"
That's not even the worst thing. Like I get it. You got to thank the person for being there. This is light. This takes 2 seconds to Photoshop this, right? It's this same player, whoever this person may be for whatever team, getting the video treatment when they play their first away game against them. Like, like Robin Lopez, if he comes back to play against the Bucks, like is going to get some video. And like, honestly, it's going to be him sitting on the floor next to the court. Like, he did not do anything. But like now everyone gets this whole glossy highlight reel of their time there. And it's like, I thought we did this for like all-stars, like someone who won you a championship or something. And now it's just a dude who played like 5 minutes at one time.
Right. And when it was all-stars, it used to be like a big question too. Like, oh, will they recognize them when they come back. But now it's like, no, if it's an all-star, you're definitely getting the video treatment. And if you played 5 minutes, you're still probably getting the video treatment. But
if you played enough minutes to justify it.
Right, if you played a minute, you're getting the video. You're getting a 1 minute video of your time there. But you mentioned Pat Beverly, who basically a couple minutes ago was announced as being, going to the Milwaukee Bucks now. What is this like? I was talking to you before about how it's it's almost like a weird Twilight Zone thing, where like, okay, a big team will get a star of equal value to Giannis, like in this case, Dame. And then for the next year, it's like all these weird moves will start happening that the team would have never pulled even a year ago.
Yeah, like it's the win now mentality, which I get, right? Every day we're all older, so you can't really run away from that. But like Giannis is like 28, 29. Like
he signed a new deal like what, 2 years ago, a year ago? Like
no, like 6 months ago. He re-upped again. Yeah. So he's good for the next 3 or 4 seasons. But yeah, they panic again with the championship. I think that expedites things too, right? You see this in LA with LeBron. Like they reset their roster every 6 months because he believes he needs to win a championship every single year. And like that's my issue with a lot of this is that every single superstar believes I have to win this championship every single year. And it's like, bro, it's only one of them. So like all of you can't win it. Like it's fine if you don't even win it for like 4 or 5 years. It's very hard to do, but like now it's now or never. And so you start making moves that in theory, not even on paper, but in theory should work, right? Like you just upgraded on defense with Pat Bev. It was like also Pat Bev is 35 or 36. Dame is like 35. Chris Middleton is like 33. He's I think younger than me. Brook Lopez is like 35. Giannis is the youngest one, and he's been in the league for over 10 years. And so I get it, but like also you're not getting any faster. You're not getting any younger with these moves. Not to mention the continuity is all messed up. And this is something I've harped on more recently is like talent is one thing. Coaching is one thing. Whatever. Culture is one thing. But like continuity is important to winning the championship too. We just saw this with the Nuggets last year. They're starting 3 or 4 have been together for like 5 years. When the Bucks won it, Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Brook have been there for 3 years together. Obviously, Giannis and Chris have been there longer. Drew Holiday was the final piece, but they were together for a long time. Now you just keep throwing together rosters all willy-nilly, hoping that you can get it all together by the time you get to April. And I'm like, you could, right? Like the Lakers just made it to the conference finals last year, right? By throwing together a roster pretty quickly, but like that's not necessarily going to work out every single year. And again, only 4 teams can make it to the conference championship. So yeah, I get why the moves are made, but like they're a bit short-sighted. Not to mention giving up all the draft picks that the Bucks keep doing to get Jay Crowder and Pat Bev. Like it's weird, and I don't know necessarily that the moves that they made today made them all that better, you know.
Do you think that they're giving up a certain level of consistency in the hopes of winning now, that like they could have gone on with that relatively same core group, not went out and gotten Dame and been good for another, let's say 3-4 years. And even if they don't win a championship, they could get close and people could kind of look back on that run like, okay, that was a great team. And they eventually did get a championship. And, we're all cool with it because Milwaukee is not the Lakers. Like, Brooklyn's not the Lakers. There's a million teams in the NBA that are not the Lakers or the Celtics, where the mandate is like, oh, if we don't win a championship, every 5 years, like it's, what are we?
No, I thought the Dame move was necessary. All the ancillary moves, I question those because it's not as if they're trading for like essentially you want a bunch of 3-and-D guys who are not your star players, right?
Right.
But their 3-and-D guys or their defensive minded guys are all old as shit. right? And so like I don't like those moves per se, especially when you're trading draft picks for it too. So you're just eternally punting on any type of young development.
Mm-hmm.
The Dame move was necessary because, and it's played out so far, Chris Middleton, through age and through health, is not a reliable number 2 anymore. So if Drew was still on the Bucks, that would bump him up to number 2. And I love Drew, and his defense is amazing, though it's gone down a little bit in his time with Boston. He is not a reliable number 2 either. And so they would have gotten to the playoffs and looking for that second person to get his own shot. You don't even know if Chris is going to be playing, and let alone if he does, how long his body will hold up. So the Dame one was necessary, or someone of equal caliber to Dame. You needed that second option. And aside from some shaky performances, he's hit his Dame time shot already.
Yeah.
And he's come up pretty well in the clutch, even if they haven't won. But yeah, if it was Dame, Giannis, Chris, and a bunch of younger dudes, yeah, I could see this working out. But the oldness of it, now you just throwing in a bunch of new guys, and this is their third coach since June. It's not good. Yeah. Not good at all. The vibe, like I said, the vibes are bad, and vibes really tell you everything. Look at the Lakers.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't. Yeah. The Lakers, I don't. Darvin Ham must be on tenterhooks every day, because half the season it's like, oh well, Darvin Ham's doing a great job. Oh, look at us, we won the in-season tournament. Oh, he's got these guys motivated. Then, like, what? 2 weeks later, people were like, oh, Darvin Ham's got to go. What do you mean he's got to go? You just showed up. You were in the Western Conference Finals last year. Oh, I'm sorry you didn't win a championship.
Yeah, it's weird because don't take me for NBA history buff, but like Jerry Sloan was with the Jazz for decades, right? Never won a championship. And it's just like
20
what happened?
Years, 25 years.
Yeah, like is sustained success not good enough? Like, have we reached a point where it really is championship or bust? Because I'm like, I get the thought process of that, but like you got to be able to build something at some point, because the idea of just swapping out your roster every single year, like you're gambling, and like the house wins most of the time in these circumstances. So I don't get the rush.
Well, especially because once you've got a consistent culture built, it's easier to maintain it if you don't completely just go off the reservation at that point, like so many teams do. Like you look at the Heat, and they make a big deal about Heat culture and blah blah blah, and people kind of make fun of them for it. But at the end of the day, like there's one man at the top who dictates how the place is run. Spoelstra's been the coach for a long time now, and they haven't won a championship in a while, but to your point, like they've had that consistency where, even when they're the 7th or 8th seed, like they've always got a chance. Like they're always in the mix. There hasn't been a year, outside of maybe like, the waning years of Dwayne Wade when they were doing like a rebuild that they weren't in the mix.
Yeah. Their example, like there's a distinction, right? There's a player-friendly organization, which I would consider the Heat, right? And a player-ran organization, which at this point now, that's the Bucks and Lakers for sure, right? And I gotta say, like, just like I can't do 2 jobs at one time. I can't be a writer and be the editor at the same time. Like, it's kind of hard to want to be the player and the GM too. Like, it takes a skill to be able to maneuver all these trades, right? Like Sam Presti, say what you will about him, like he knows how to get draft picks somehow, right? He knows how to leverage sort of stuff. Giannis is not Presti, LeBron is not Presti, and it's like you should have input, no doubt, right? They should want your opinion on who the coach is and what scheme you want to run and who you want to play with, but like it can't be this go do this, or like these empty threats, right? And that's what we've seen from some of the star players is like do this or else. And it's like extortion, like we said before, extortion works sometimes, but like a lot of the times it doesn't, right? And so
no, extortion is not the best strategy for anything.
Yeah, and it's like people should want to play together, but like the stakes are just so high at this point. And as much as the players say they don't care about the outside noise and that sort of stuff, they clearly do, because for all of them, it really is championship or bust. And I'm like, there's more to it than that, right? The money, obviously, but like you love basketball and you love winning too, but like you should love the process of getting there as well, and not there's process. You should love the process of getting there as well, and like it shouldn't be this is a lost season because we didn't win the championship. Like if you're a good team, you're a good team. Eventually, it'll happen. And again, there's 32 teams, only one can win a year.
Well, and sort of dovetailing off of that to not necessarily the championship, but the lesser awards, down the rung and the individual awards, is that there's been a lot of conversation the past week and a half about players playing injured because they want to hit that 65 game mark that started. That's an important thing, but I look at this situation and I just think of what a lot of people have brought up is the example of what Anthony Davis said earlier this year, where he said, listen, I worked out extra hard in the off season this year because I wanted to make sure I was on the court so I didn't miss the 65 games. And it's like, well, this is the most we've seen Anthony Davis on the field in maybe his entire career, at least the past couple of years, his career as a Laker. So, like,
I mean, he's a good example. Like? Yeah, he's a very good example, but the best example, at one point, I don't know if it's true now, but Kawhi Leonard had not missed a single game. And he's the most glaring example here. And it could be after all those low management years, he finally was the healthiest he's ever been. Mm-hmm. Or he was incentivized to like actually play more games. I don't know which it is, but like, coincidence. As far as this, like, one, we can all admit, like, Joel Embiid at this point with the amount of lower body injuries he's had, including before he was even drafted by the 76ers, it's concerning, right? And I think it's obviously something within his body structure, but also like the dude is over 300 pounds, I imagine, 7 feet tall. That's a lot of weight to put on your legs that already been broken or torn multiple times. So I don't think the 65 game mandate really matters for him. It's like he's just a ticking time bomb at this point. And he might just be, it's not Greg Oden, right? Because he's made it this far, but like we have to admit that at some point, maybe his body just won't be able to hold up because he's too damn big and he can jump and move and all these sort of things that big guys of his size have never really been able to do. As far as the mandate, look, the players and the Players Association agreed to it. I don't know why they did that. Especially if they're going to bitch and moan about it by the time people like Embiid got up to that limit.
So I agree with what you were saying completely. I think that there's always going to be guys like Joel Embiid that just are prone to getting hurt, and that's unfortunate, but that's also the game. And you look at guys like Therese Halliburton, who came out very strongly and was like, "Listen, unfortunately, like I just got hurt this year, and because of this new mandate, like I might miss out on stuff." And to that, I would say, unfortunately, like that's kind of the breaks. Like when you put the 65 into context, but like when you put it into context, let's not forget that's 25% of the season. That's 1/4 of the season. And at that point, you have to ask yourself, do we want an MVP candidate? Would you vote for an MVP candidate that has missed 1/4 of the season? And I think most people, when you put it into context like that, would say, well, no, of course not.
Yeah. I mean, I think if I had a vote, which I don't, but I think I would. Like, if, like you said, broadly speaking, I don't know. But, like, within the context of that specific season, so, like, Joel Embiid this year, if he comes back and eventually plays 64 games, but there was no mandate that he had to play 65, or even if he only plays 60 games, it's clear he's playing way better than anyone else. The man scored 70 points, right? So, like, it's clear he's above the board, playing better than everyone else. It's just he happens to get hurt. He's not doing, as far as I can tell, really the low management thing. It's just like some days his legs be breaking, So, like,
but it's ultimately a trade-off though, because we've seen in the past this wouldn't have been necessary if we didn't see the level of load management that we've seen in the past 5 years.
Yeah, and even then, I will say, and I did this a couple years ago, so I don't know how the numbers shake out at this point, but like Kawhi was really the only one doing it. There were some games like Giannis wouldn't play. There were some games where LeBron wouldn't play, but it wasn't as egregious as Kawhi, where he wasn't doing back-to-backs or something like that, right? He was a lone person. We zeroed in on that, but like that was a double-edged sword for him because we only did it after you did what you did in Toronto and winning the championship, right? So now we had expectations and want to see this finals MVP all the time, and he wasn't ever playing. And so that pissed people off, rightfully so, mind you, but I don't think it was as big of a deal. But from the Leafs perspective, I can understand why they did it. There have been countless games that I've tried to watch on national TV, not even league guys, on national TV, expecting to see a matchup that I want to see, and neither of the key players are playing, or three of them are not playing.
I was just going to bring that up. It's not about the day-to-day games. It's the fact that there's been so many TNT games and games on ESPN where people are expecting to see, or just people in general who buy a ticket. Like people brought up the point that like tickets are not the most inexpensive thing in the world. Like people may get to go to one game every year, every 2 years, and not to be like shut up and dribble about it, but there is a certain level of you pay to see the stars when they come to town, and if the stars aren't there, like less people are gonna take the risk to buy tickets.
Yeah, and so for that, as far as that, like say for an Eastern Conference team, you get one chance to see LeBron James every season. You get one chance to see Kevin Durant. You get one chance to see Stephen Curry. And if they don't play and they're not hurt, I would be pissed about that if I paid for a ticket to go see him. Now, on the other side, the NBA sometimes gets in its own way. They're still doing 3 games in 4 nights. They're still doing back-to-backs.
Yep.
And they're doing back-to-backs with the second half of the back-to-back on national television. And I just don't understand that because either the key players are not going to play, or in the case of a couple weeks ago, the Bucks playing the Celtics got blown out by 40 points. And their starters were taken out at halftime. Like, who is this good for? Like, they have to be smarter about that as well. But I think it's complex, right? And I don't think any side is really more wrong than the other. But the players do need to play if they're healthy. And also the NBA needs to get out of its own way and schedule better, where you're not having someone back-to-backs where like neither game's at home, mind you, and like you have to travel both times and expecting either them to play or play at their best. Like,
no, that takes a toll.
They're humans at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, speaking of humans at the end of the day, but that makes no sense for this next topic. I don't know why I'm saying that. This is more a question. Have you checked out? Because I didn't know this was a thing. That there's a G League channel on Tubi now, which I'm all for, a spot like the G League. But this was the very first thing I saw, and I had to take a screenshot. I don't even know they were getting this wild with the uniforms in the G League, that they got like full SpongeBob night outfits.
No, I had no idea either, but I get it because they do that in minor league baseball, right? Have those crazy uniforms.
Yeah, they try and have
minor league hockey as well. Yeah, like, because let me tell you, I'm watching the G League, so like I might watch it though for a few seconds to see the SpongeBob SquarePants uniform. But yeah, all the shit that they be trying out with the regular NBA, do that all in the G League, and like I might watch like this court that they're bringing out for the All-Star game. I watched that a couple years ago. They had the jerseys where you could like change the number and the name on the back of it. Like I'll look at an LED jersey for a few minutes. So yeah, I'm with the gimmicks, because if you want me to watch something, you got to give me a reason to. If it's not heavy on star power.
Now, do you think they should be marketing the G League more to services like Tubi, sort of free over-the-air places? Or do you think they should do what I've wanted them to do for a while now, which is you've got such a rich history in the NBA, 75 plus years now we just passed, a couple of years ago. Just put up a streaming channel where you're showing old games. Because every, like Pluto TV, Tubi, like they've all got channels like that for the NHL, for baseball. Like I think both Tubi and Pluto TV have one up right now. that has Super Bowl classics running 24/7. Like, do that. I don't know why they don't do anything with the NBA for that. And this feels like they're finally dipping their toe in. But I feel like
Yeah.
instead of dipping your toe in with the G League, just give me the NBA.
Yeah. So as far as like where they should put it, yeah, Tubi, YouTube, right? That's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
League Pass recently put finals games on there at least. But yeah, there probably should be like if you just want to watch a random game from a Tuesday in March from 2004, you should probably be able to. Now I don't know about the bandwidth because that's a lot of games. So I was thinking like WWE Network. It's a lot of programming hours, but that pales in comparison to the history of the NBA. So I just don't know how feasible that is. But yeah, sometimes people just want to watch these things, or like you said, like they used to have with ESPN Classic, just like have an NBA channel dedicated to like just spinning wheels, like random games.
Yeah, NBA's greatest rivalries. Oh, we got Celtics Lakers this week. We got, Bucks, whatever. Like,
yeah, like particularly League Pass though, because like if I'm paying to essentially get the shittiest games of the day, like you can give me a little more than Maverick Spurs. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. If you're just gonna feed me as far as new content, like you said, the worst games of today, at least give me the best games of yesteryear with it.
Yeah, that's the least that you could do. But yeah, the NFL NBA both had this problem where like they care so much about their trademark and stuff that they're not gonna get like we gotta pay between the two leagues like for 8-9 different services to be able to watch every single game. The least you can do is throw us a bone every now and then. But
what do you think of that new?
Works.
Well, what do you think? Well, speaking of capital, what do you think of that new service? The one that's going to be like Fox, ESPN, TNT.
I'm not sure I'm at liberty to speak about that.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
I'll say that. I mean, not because I have insider information, but like because I work there. But it's interesting. It just seems like the thing I used to pay for like 10 years ago. But we'll see.
Yeah, we shall see. And to wrap up this episode, I have a topic that I mentioned a couple weeks ago, and I've tweeted these people, I've DM'd them. If you've been following the pod, you may know exactly where this is going. I haven't forgotten Pizza Hut. I want you to bring back those March Madness balls. I know you did them last year, and I'm unsure if you're doing them this year, but I want in. I want to partner up with Pizza Hut. Something like I'll do an unboxing, whatever you got, give it to me. Do you remember when they did this? Because this is the way it used to be.
No, I was not. No, I'm not aware of this. Tell me more.
This is back in the 90s. Oh, this is like all throughout the 90s when you would go in March to Pizza Hut and you paid for like whatever pizza. You would get like a mini basketball that was like, and a cup that was like styled to that year's Final Four.
Yeah.
And it was like a big collector's item. I think they stopped it in the early 2000s. Like they did a one-off for Space Jam. But like they brought it back, I think last year. So like, I don't know how I would have heard about it, but I apparently not. Apparently poo-poo on me because they did bring it back in some limited capacity. And I saw this last month and I was like, bring it back again this year. Like I want a mini basketball. I want a branded mini basketball and whatever and the hoop. I don't know what the deal is with that hoop. I tried looking.
That's what I was gonna say. Is it like it's not the actual pizza box, right? This is a separate thing that doesn't have pizza in it, right? Because like
I don't know.
You want that greasy shit?
I don't even know. Like I would. You're right. The grease would be a problem.
Yeah, it would smell crazy in your house after 2 days.
Smell crazy. But even with the grease factor involved, it may be worth it because of the novelty of, hey, we're giving you a pizza box that you can basically punch a hole in the middle of, like Goldie Hawn in Death Becomes Her, and just throw it up and play basketball.
Yeah, no, I mean, you showed the thing from the 90s, and like that's another thing. That's a tangent for another day, but like we're getting away from like fun stuff, right?
Yeah.
So like this goes to jerseys, this goes to team logos, this goes to team names, right? We're not having fun anymore. Like the 90s and early 2000s were very colorful, and like now everything is just so black and white and just boring and corporate. Like this, the best example, the game is on Sunday, the Super Bowl. The logos used to be great. The NBA All-Star game in 2 weeks. The jerseys used to be a thing. It used to really represent the city that they were in. And
that's
now
why people love those old jerseys.
Yeah, like if we're gonna throw out all these jerseys all year, like at least give us good ones. But like everything is just so it's just
I think people feel everything's got to be too slick now.
Yeah.
Where like where it's got to look very corporate. I noticed it. Was it last year or the year before when the Final Four was in Houston, and the logo looked like it was made by like an AI robot or something. Like it just looked.
Probably was. Yeah.
It probably was. Well, that's a weird thing that's happening now too. Is that we're seeing art that may or may not have been created by AI, but because it has that AI look. Like real artists, like it's in this weird mode where real artists are doing AI looking art that is not AI, but now like we're like poo-pooing them, and they're like, no, like it happened with the WrestleMania, like the 2K WWE game. They put out like a WrestleMania edition.
Oh,
and
God.
the art on the cover,
let's talk about
everyone was like, oh my God, like I can't believe they used AI for this art. And the guy came out and was like, I made this all on my own. What are you talking about?
Yeah, AI is a problem, obviously, for that very reason that you pointed out. But like CGI is worse because in that very same, it's not commercial, but like the rollout for WW.
Oh my
2K,
God, I know
whatever.
where you're going with this.
Yeah, like I would understand if they did that for Macho Man. I would understand it if they did it for Andre the Giant. I would understand if they did it for anyone who is no longer alive. Why did you need to CGI the face of Hulk Hogan and Stone Cold Steve Austin? They're right there. You could call them up. You could record them on Zoom and do it. Like that was the weirdest thing.
It looked so honestly, bad too.
Yeah, like I don't know how it got to the final layer of eyes that needed to look it over before it went out, and that person was like, "Yeah, no, it's ready. We're ready for that." It looks fucking terrible.
It looked like if you took a thumb and like rendered someone's face, like put a skin over that thumb. Like it looked so weird. Like their face,
it looked like what
a round.
It looked like face off. Yeah. It looks like they cut someone's face off and cut another person's face off and put it on each other like that. It was I don't understand. Like Hulk Hogan and Stone Cold are very much alive. They could have just did the commercial, right? But like, they went this route, and but it speaks to a larger thing. Before we wrap up, it's just people in the line of work that we do as far as like just media type stuff that depends on creativity. That in opposition to people who just want to make money, and how those people are more and more getting into these creative spaces and ruining art. Now, again, this seems small because we're talking about a video game.
It's small things that build up because eventually, enough people do something that blocks out a certain type of art or artistic avenue, and now all of a sudden you create a bottleneck. There's not as many people interested. Like I saw something on Twitter the other day, and it's someone I really like, and they do a podcast, and so they put some art up, and someone was like, "Hey man, like that art's really cool. Like where'd you get it?" And they're like, "Oh, I got it from like some AI tool," and I was just like, "No, like." You might as well have never responded to that. I did not want to see that you would use an AI tool for that.
Yeah, and that's the thing with artificial intelligence. Like, there's justifiable reasons to use it, right? Like, for medical reasons, like the doctor's notes, they can just turn it out and turn it into a thing. But as far as Sports Illustrated, let's use that as an example, got caught using fake writers. Like, no, nothing replaces the real thing. I know people who press buttons and look at charts don't want to pay the people who write those stories. But like, there's a reason why we're here. Like, we can see stuff with our own eyes. We can hear stuff with our ears. And like, a computer can't do that. And when you try to replicate it, it's trash. Every single time it's trash.
Yeah.
Show me, as far as art, I'm not talking about for like medical reasons. Show me art that has used AI that has actually been better than what you could have gotten from a real person.
No, it's the fact that we all, even at this early stage, we know that AI art has a certain look.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's how you know
trash.
It's not.
It looks like
it's trash. It looks like trash.
You know what it looks like? The still, like the loading still photo screen from Grand Theft Auto. That's what all that shit looks like. And it's trash. And like that is digital art from like 2005 that they're trying to pass off in 2024 as like this great thing. It's like, bro, aside from the fact that every single person has like 6-7 fingers on their hand, like it looks trash. It looks bad. And it's infuriating.
Because I get why, like you said, AI is important because eventually it's going to be a tool to help you do things faster. Like in the medical community, at its best right now, AI can basically be like Google hyperspeed, where it's like it's going to get you the information you need in real time. It's going to take your notes and make sure that they're all listed in a certain way. But when it comes to art, people need to realize that all it's doing is it's aggregating existing art and spitting out quote unquote new art. And to that, it's like, okay, but unlike facts that you're putting in a list that, those facts already exist, you can't change them. The art already exists as well. You're taking the existing, you're plagiarizing.
Yeah. But as we can tell in recent examples across the country, plagiarism is like just a thing people do. And take it from me, for someone who went to grad school, that was enlightening to me because I was like, I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but like, I thought that like my master's thesis was inadequate because it wasn't as long as everyone else's, right? It was long, don't get me wrong, but like other people had like 20, 30 more pages. Turns out people just copy and paste shit. So jokes on me, but plagiarism is just a thing that we do here, apparently. But just as you were talking about this, the WWE commercial is coming on during this kickoff event. They added the Undertaker to it as well.
Oh boy,
the fake face.
You've got footage of these people. Just show it. Why did you have to make new footage even?
But hasn't 2K just been accused of like being lazy for the last like 10 years of this video game, and like nothing's really changed?
Now they're getting. I guess now they're getting on the ball. Like people said, the last game was good, and this new one's apparently looking very good. But they had fallen into the Madden trap where every year it's like, well, you're going to buy it anyway. Why are we going to care?
Yeah. Why update it? No competition. You have no incentive to actually do it. But as far as just overall, like people who for them money is everything, they believe that art is not important, even though they grew up on it. This shaped their life, like whatever content they consumed their entire life was art, but like they just don't see it as such. So now they believe that we, the people who provide it, whether it's journalists, media people, artists, actors, screenwriters, whatever it is, like we're easily replaceable because a computer can do it. And like, ironically enough, we've seen enough movies where you try to replace people with robots and it doesn't pan out well. Like the entire movie is about how bad that idea is. They're trying to do it in real life, and like it'll be 10 years from now when they finally realize, that no, people don't want that bullshit.
Well, have you seen there have been these little AI experiments where people will like make a fake Twitter account with AI and just see how it reacts. Like, what information does it pick up? How does it tweet? And I feel like they've done that a couple times. And I feel like every single time, the AI eventually comes to the conclusion that humanity is awful and needs to be destroyed. And it's like, this is what you're right. They've been telling us this.
That is literally the plot of Avengers 2 that you're talking about here. And
is.
The people who watched that movie took the wrong message from it, obviously, because no, if you make the computer learn, particularly about America, that robot's just going to turn out to be racist. And we've seen it countless times. That's exactly what happens. It learns enough from Twitter, of all places. I don't know why you make the computer learn about Twitter. It learns about Twitter, and within 15 minutes, that robot is racist as hell.
That's why they keep having to shut them down. They always we tried this experiment for 15 minutes and we had to shut it off because it was calling Asian people some slur. It's what do you you're on Twitter?
And they're gonna put that technology in those Boston Dynamics robots and stuff. And it's
oh my god, those things, those frighten me. Those are frightening because they look uncanny, with the legs and the Every time have you seen the videos where people try and kick the Boston Dynamics robots and they just get right back up?
I haven't, but I can imagine. I know when they created the technology for when it falls over, it can get itself back up, but I didn't know people were doing that. But I was in Miami a couple months ago, and one of them delivery robots just came out of a building and was just going down the street by itself.
I think I saw.
I'm
you put that up.
Look. What are we doing? What are we saving here by putting these robots out on the street? And sure enough, when I say, I was somewhat impressed because we got to not even a stoplight, but it was opening for a driveway. It stopped by itself. So the thing's smart, but that's the problem.
But it's still a little thing that I'm going to steal the food.
Yeah, no, I mean, I had intentions of breaking it open, but it's probably illegal. So
probably illegal, but it's one of those things where some technology I feel we can do very readily, but it's just not a good idea. I think of Google Glass when that happened. It was we could do Google Glass pretty easily, but it's just too cumbersome. Who wants to put a little eyeglass thing in front of your eye and I don't need to do my taxes on the subway in my eyes.
Well, now we got the Vision Pro thing, and it's I don't know how this helps humanity. This is vanity.
Oh, the people, the clips of people walking down the street,
you're in fucking Minority Report. Come on, man.
They're just looking at great porn. Technology. They're just looking at porn in public.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say about Google Glass. How many people was doing inappropriate stuff with them cameras? Now, mind you, either Oakley or Ray-Ban, I think it's Ray-Ban, have glasses that have cameras in it too. I'm I get why you would think that that's a great idea, but think of worst case scenario, and that's definitely gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, we're fucked. So guess that's where we're leaving off on today. Yeah. But if you listen, people Sports Illustrated may be doing AI journalism. You're doing the real stuff. You're hitting the pavement, meeting the press, pressing the meat, whatever the expression is, and you are
first. Okay, Vin. Because first you said I was carrying loads, and now you say I'm pressing meat. It's because it's a new year. Is this you were sick?
We'll chalk it up to that.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, the head of the table is coming out. I am doing a journalism thing. I had a piece out today about the NFL's International Pathway Program, which essentially they're just grabbing dudes from different countries who have never played American football and hoping to turn them into NFL athletes within 3 months. So that's up right now. I have something after the Super Bowl. I have something on Notre Dame women's basketball coming hopefully in the next week or so. Something on the Wizards for those who have interest there. We out here. We're doing the work.
Yeah, and radio stuff, TV coming up.
Eventually.
All right.
Whatever.
Fair enough.
I don't know.
It'll happen. Right now.
But we're doing a written thing right now. We'll get back to the digital stuff eventually.
Yeah, so go check out Martenzie wherever you. Well, check them out on Andscape. Why am I saying check them out wherever? That's the place where you are.
Yeah.
Check
Andscape, ESPN, Andscape.com. Go on, take a read. Yeah.
Yeah. With all of that said, I want to thank you for taking some time out again. I know we kind of had some technical issues before the pod, but I want to thank you for bearing with me on that. And for everyone else, go follow the pod over on youtube.com/@Oddball Podcast. Follow the pod, the audio version, over on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, where you get your podcasts. If you're listening to one right now. And well, that's I'll see you back here same time, same place next week. You're listening to Oddball Vin Forte. My name is Vin Forte. Thank you once again to Martenzie for jumping in today. Bye-bye.